depression. Fight back with aggression. This come with your heart. I provide all the weapons. Come take a look in the eyes of a soldier. I drop that real and it spread like Ebola. Man, on my word, I don't know what they told you. I got the weight of the world on my. Let me tell you. Everybody know the name. I'm one of one. I'm a god in my lane. The devil up on me. I'm watching in flames. The Lord at my heart. I got my angel wings. They talk about people accomplishing dreams. They talk about me and the rest of my team. Keeping it G, it ain't always the same. It get complicated like Avril Lavigne. Yeah. Top down, screaming out, Billy anything. Box out, never let a nigga in my lane. Cropped out, you would get taken out the frame. Dropped out, nigga had to find another way. I don't like when you bitch niggas hate from afar. I respect when it's up close and personal. Ain't about what you say, it's about what you show.
Hey, peace world. What's good? This is your man Wood. Just getting it in, a little sports talk late night, messing around with some new things. And before I can get on out of here for the night, realized that some breaking news from Deontay Wilder. I really don't know where to go with it. The brother says it's a new article out there on Boxing Scene right now. The brother has put his demands out there for $100 million. He believes that the fight with Anthony Joshua is worth $100 million, and I don't know how you arrive at that number. Even with Heyman, his co-managers Al Heyman and Shelley Finkel, I don't know how you arrive at that number. I mean, unless Anthony Joshua is working for free. I mean, I really don't get it. And this is becoming part of my problem. My issue with the Wilder camp and what's going on with them, and the fact that some of the fighters are becoming just like with politics. You know, they can say that the president, is stuck in campaign mode, can get stuck in campaign mode versus governing. And I feel like that's where we are with some of these fighters right now, man. They so stuck and so focused on the campaigning, and out here trying to convince and push certain narratives and so on and so forth, and we're not getting much governing or fighting, their primary job. This situation right here, though, we just had the piece a couple of weeks ago where Shelley Finkel himself came out and said what the play was, or what the next couple of plays were for Deontay Wilder. I would imagine, though, after this fight tomorrow night with Dominic Brazil, and June 1st with Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz, if both of the champions are able to prevail in those fights, that they'd at least take a moment and try to see whether or not bringing us the big fight is possible. I don't have a lot of optimism in that, but definitely think that after based on the proximity of those fights when they occur, and the money that's at stake, and kind of the outlets that need a big win. Obviously, if it's a big enough jackpot, a purse that's sitting out there, a big enough bag to be split up and cut by all the players involved, you take a look at it. But both of them do have pretty solid challenges to get past, so you don't want to overlook that. But this right here is just ridiculous in my opinion, and it's starting to really it's really starting to turn me off, to sour my following of Deontay Wilder in his camp. I saw something earlier where they did mention that, I don't know what site that was on. It might even be in this article, But I thought I saw a headline out there to where Deontay Wilder mentioned that if the fight, if the negotiations remain private, it was a possibility that a deal could get done. And I think that's smart. I think that's the smartest thing that I said. But I saw that earlier today. But maybe an hour or two ago is when I see now that this $100 million total has been given, and that's what that's the direction. That's what his stance is. I just don't know how that plays out. The article is by Boxing Clever. I don't know. I don't know if that's just a general name on there, but it just gets to it. Wilder is not denying that he's turned his back on several offers to face IBF, IBO, WBA, WBO champion Anthony Joshua in a unification bout. According to Wilder, all of the offers were below market value, and Joshua rejected an even higher offer of $50 million for the fight. That was a while ago. But now here we are. Both guys are heading into fights, and it comes down in the article. The last offer that he received was $40 million. I believe that's a part of the DAZN package that was put out there. But it says that his quote directly is, "Most definitely it's worth $100 million. We know the magnitude of the fight. The heavyweight division is so exciting now. The money is so huge in the sport right now. It's one thing to watch fighters and know what they're capable of doing, but the whole business side is another thing. That's why I appreciate Shelly and my team trying to explain certain things to me, because sometimes it gets complicated for me to even explain. They've been in it for over 30 years. That's pretty much the gist of it. Down at the bottom, to close out the article, it just says 8 months ago, Joshua's team. Oh, this is their justification for the $100 million. Is that 8 months ago, Joshua's team offered $10 million, then they offered $15 million. Then they offered $20 million. Now they came back with $40 million. So Deontay is only getting bigger. So you can imagine what it's going to be when they do fight. Finkel said. That's a quote from Finkel. All garbage, man. Pretty much all garbage. I mean, if I'm keeping it funky, Finkel and this is really unfortunate, man, because a lot of positive work has been done. A lot of ground has been gained, despite today's or this week's comments with the whole killing, or leaving a body in the ring and all of that. Despite all of that, the arrow was definitely trending up for Deontay Wilder, in my opinion. But to grossly misconstrue or misunderstand the economics here, what have you done? What have you done to realistically think that there's $100 million fight out there for one person, for one side of the purse? All you have on your record is the pay-per-view with Fury back in December. That's all you have. And while that was relatively successful without the rematch, you didn't see how you improved upon those numbers. So to come out here and arrive at $100 million request, I don't get it. And it just makes no sense. And it only leads me to one thing. They don't really want this fight. And like I just said, Shelly Finkel himself was in an article 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, laying out what the next 2 or 3 fights were for Wilder. And that included a bout with Kovnowski and then the rematch with Luis Ortiz. That was from Shelly Finkel's mouth himself. So it's not like, I'm making this up or pulling this from anywhere. This came from his team himself. or themselves. So the day you come out and say it's misleading the public, man. It's really being disingenuous. Like, you have no interest in making that fight right now, and you're just throwing stuff at the wall. And it's a shame, man, because he's got a very loyal following. It's a lot of guys across the country that are charged up, about Deontay Wilder, and I don't even know what you call it. I mean, but I'm trying to be, I'm trying to be fair about it. I'm trying to understand and follow along with what's going on, but it continues to get murkier and murkier, and I'm just like, and he said it. Wilder said it himself months ago when the Fury and Wilder, when the fight was made with Fury. If two people really want to make a fight, it's not that difficult. So now today to come up here and say that you want $100 million, you know damn well that that's not the economics of this fight. That's just not the pie that's out here to be split up. So I think it's misleading the public. And the sad thing about it is that, he's he has such a standing with most of his fans that nobody's really gonna call him on this stuff. But you can't really want the fight throwing that out there. I'm sorry. I damn near could have understood 60 million, maybe 70 million, but and one of the comments on the Boxing Scene article was clear. Nobody knows neither one of these guys. I mean, in the big scheme of things, nobody knows either one of these guys. This fight tomorrow, this fight tomorrow has some an opportunity. He got to go on ESPN this week, sit in on First Take. I'm not gonna rehash the situation with the comments that were made about a body and whatnot, whatever. But you got to spend that time on one of the most popular sports shows in the country. For First Take does its thing, it dominates in its time slot. So you get on there. We had the Final Four sit down. The press conferences have had a lot of buzz around it. But I don't know. It's not three people in my office that know, that's non-black at least. It's not three people in my office that know either one of these guys. So to think that you can get $100 million for him, $100 million or $110 million for Anthony Joshua, I don't know what universe that fight gets made, gets finalized, and that it works for anybody. I'm sorry. That's just throwing something out there just to be talking. And then it's hurting a brother's credibility along the lines of a lot of other stuff. If we're gonna throw that out there and be that far off base with that, then what else is being how else are folks being misled? So it's a shame. And I watch most of the channels. I tune in here and there to kind of get an understanding. I don't know everything. I'll admit that. I'm not trying to say I'm the smartest guy in the room. But I'm watching other channels to see what's the other. Am I missing something to help me connect the dots? And nobody says anything. We just sit here and take it and just sit here and yell that the brother is a boss. That's another thing. I said this on a couple of podcasts ago. You got to be at a stage now. When do you make an offer? How do you keep sitting here waiting for the other team to make you an offer or a fair offer that hasn't come and doesn't appear to be coming? So when does your side go back and regroup and put together another offer? I think both guys are kind of at the point where the big three of the division are established. There's only kind of like one direction to go for each man. So get behind some closed doors, keep the negotiations private, and get the fight done. You don't sit here and mess around and something is gonna happen to throw a wrench in this whole thing, and at the end of the day, everybody's feelings are gonna be hurt because what could have been a great fight will have lost all of the box office aspect of it, just because people couldn't sit down and get a deal done. But this thing right here, to sit down and call out for this $100 million, man, that's just disingenuous, man. I don't know how to look at it any differently. Especially if you're not throwing an offer out there. I just don't know how else to look at it. Other than that, though, there was really nothing else to discuss, man. I'm just sitting here kind of struggling with this one. Let me get on off here. Like I said, I was really only just playing around, trying to work on some new things with the live stream, and that was really about it. Thanks for checking it out. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, rock with me in the future, and enjoy your weekend. Enjoy that fight tomorrow.
Fight back with aggression. This come with your heart. I provide all the weapons. Come take a look in the eyes of a soldier. I drop that real and it spread like Ebola. Man, on my word, I don't know what they told you. I got the weight of the world on my. Let me tell you.